Hi, I'm Johnny. This is Johnny Likes, the show where I talk about movies that I like. Today I'm talking about a cult classic in horror circles that has earned its reverential status and has aged like fine wine. Today, Johnny likes Re-Animator. Herbert West is just your average mad scientist who is obsessed with conquering death by developing a reanimation serum. He moves in with fellow med student Dan, who is dating the dean's daughter, and before you know it, they are up to their necks in dead and semi-dead people. So this movie was always hyped as being pretty awesome. It had a cult following in the 90s, and it continues to this day. When I watched it as a teen, I didn't really get it. I just found it kind of boring, and it was just overall a little bit meh on it. I didn't get the appeal. I now see what the fuss was about. I find that the director of this, Stuart Gordon's movies, all have a weird pace to them. They all start off kind of slow, but they just steadily gain momentum until you get to the final act and everything is basically bonkers. This movie has some great and really gruesome special effects. The look of the body parts, the corpses, and the serum are all just fantastic. The bodies look real enough that it gives it this almost unreal dreamlike quality. Like a heightened reality, maybe. The film's most infamous scene, the head giving head, it gives me the willies, and it definitely would have been pretty risque in the mid-80s, and I could easily see it being put into a modern horror film and fitting right in. Jeffrey Combs plays Herbert West, and he is a vastly underrated and appreciated actor. He's able to do deadpan humor and switch to dramatic mode at the drop of a hat. I always enjoy seeing him on screen, and without his performance, I don't think that this film would have cemented itself into pop culture in the way that it has. Bruce Abbott, who plays Dan Kane, does a pretty good job as well. You can tell that he is struggling internally with his desire for his girlfriend Meg, and his desire to help West further his groundbreaking work. It isn't the most subtle performance in the world, but the more I watch this movie, the more I find to like in the role. There's just a little bit of depth to it that you might not expect. Barbara Crampton as Megan gets a few moments here where we genuinely feel for her. She's watching the love of her life go down a path that she can't follow, kind of Star Wars style.
Okay, now what do we do now? We prove it to him.
Daddy, listen to me!
It's the only way, Danny.
I'll tell Daddy that you plan to go on with the experiments. I'll tell him.
Please do. I tell Dr. Hill, too.
Dan, please come with me. He is a maniac. He may even be a murderer.
Meg!
You're in danger!
Meg?
And again, you can see her struggle as she wants to be with Dan, but she can't get over him being involved in West's experiments. David Gale was also slimy and arrogant as the esteemed doctor who has a problem with West and a thing for Megan. This is based on a series of H.P. Lovecraft short stories, and from what I have seen of Lovecraft's work, all of his stuff just seems to just steadily escalate. Like you think, oh, that's as far as that'll go, and then it goes like 4 steps further. Take Gale's character in this. I initially figured that he'd get killed and his head would be, like, kept in West's basement or in a backpack or a jar, something just kind of basic like that. Oh no. Instead, he seems to have some sort of psychic or hypnotic influence, and even despite him not having a body, he still tries to rape Megan. I can honestly say I didn't really see that coming. The funny thing about the characters in this movie is that West is the only one who doesn't actually lose his mind a little bit. His morals are a little bit questionable to begin with, but he never gets any crazier as the film goes on. He's just determined to do his work and does whatever it takes to get the job done. Everyone else descends into at least some level of insanity. I've not read any Lovecraft, so I can't tell you how close it is to the source, but it did seem to be pretty heavily influenced by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I have read, and I quite enjoyed. The score in this one is done by Richard Band, the brother of Charles Band, the infamous movie producer of Full Moon and Empire Pictures fame. The score here is a direct ripoff of Psycho, at least for the opening scene. Like, I don't know how they didn't get sued, or maybe they even did get sued. It's just that blatant.
Heck, officer, that was the first time I ever saw the customer high pressure the salesman. Somebody chasing her?
I better have a look at those papers, Charlie.
Nevertheless, this is an effective score and helped to highlight the scenes on screen and raise tension levels. Speaking of the opening credits, I thought they were pretty cool. It's simple but effective, just kind of shots of anatomy pictures from medical textbooks. One more thing of note here. If you are a Die Hard fan, you probably caught it. The doctor that West is working with in the beginning of the film is named Hans Gruber, which is, of course, the name of the bad guy in Die Hard. I had to look this up, but the book that Die Hard is based on is called Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Thorpe. And in that, the main bad guy is not named Hans Gruber. He is Anton Tony the Little Red Gruber. So it is entirely possible that one of the most famous villains in all of movie history is a nod to a little indie horror film. It might not be exactly true, but it's canon in my head. This film has grown on me over the last few years, and I appreciate it the more and more I think about it. It's gotta be one of the best low-budget horror movies of all time. I think it's just below the Evil Dead movies in terms of creativity and what you can do with a low budget, and if you have the right people with the right attitude. It's fantastic, and I'm going to give it a 4.25 out of 5. Only major complaint from me is that it takes a little while to get going, which does make sense from a story point of view, but nonetheless, as an experience, I find the beginning to just drag a bit. So if you like this, what else should you check out? Actually, check out the Re-Animator sequels. Bride is really good, and Beyond is decent enough. Check out From Beyond. It's kind of the spiritual sequel to Re-Animator. It unites Stuart Gordon, Jeffrey Combs, and Barbara Crampton again, and it's another weird body horror movie. Definitely worth a watch. And why not check out another Stuart Gordon one? Check out Castle Freak. Oh, that one also has Combs and maybe even Crampton. That one's a bit of a slow burn, but it's worth it. So, do you guys think that the Hans Gruber thing is just a coincidence, or was it an actual intentional thing? What else do you want to hear me talk about? Let me know in the comments. And if you could do me a favor and like and subscribe, that'd be super duper. It's quick, free, and relatively painless. Plus, pretty sure it helps me out. Thanks for watching me talk about movies for a while, and you can tune in next time to see what else Johnny likes.
Perhaps it takes desire, an obsessive desire. Perhaps it takes... We will discuss the location of the will in the brain structure at another time.
You tell him, Johnny. You tell the world.